Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
Hey, Rod. How are you?
You know what?
I didn't even introduce myself.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't know who we are.
You know what? Sometimes, well, it is 2023.
Well, you know, maybe knowing who we are is an existential question.
I know who I am.
And so, do you?
Yeah.
Do you know yourself well enough to tell other people who you are?
Yeah. Like right now?
Well, that was the reason of the pause.
My name is Bryce Runge.
Uh-huh. You know, that reminds me of a Eddie Murphy character that he used to play when he was on Saturday Night Live. My name is Gumby.
Gumby.
My name is Gumby. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to, I enjoy that, we do these. It's kind of fun to just, hang out, goof around, be kind of silly.
I think it's good for the soul, man.
Yeah. Laughing is good for the soul.
Yeah. You know what? I never, who doesn't like to laugh? Is there anyone, raise your hand if you don't like to laugh. Like, seriously, is anyone going to raise their hand? I would read on people's profiles, like, I like to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who the hell doesn't?
Well,
are there people that don't like to laugh?
I think there are some people that might be afraid to laugh. I think that they don't want to laugh. If you're laughing, that means you're having a good time, and maybe they're in a place in their life at that moment that they are resistant. They don't want to.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. So I'll back down a little bit, but you're right. I think people are in a season right now where laughter isn't, a part of the situation.
Sure. But at the same time, I'm kind of where you're at. Why not laugh?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best ways for me to challenge, the darkness of depression, to challenge, just being in a bad mood is laugh.
Right.
And sometimes I have to manufacture my own comedy by, I don't know, just doing something silly, saying something silly. One of the perks of working with kids is that I can act a little less than my age and closer to my shoe size and fit, just say or do something kind of silly, kind of corny. I threw out a dad joke here the other day. There was the question, we watch CNN Student News.
Yeah.
And anyway, the question was, they always ask a trivia question, and it was something about what is the Latin word for this.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we get all done, and I look at the kids, and they go, I wonder if they speak Latin in Latin America. And they rolled their eyes, and they go, oh, that was horrible. That was a bad dad joke.
Yep.
So, well, then lucky for me, the guy that does the CNN Student News, he then comes up at the very end of the broadcast with a dad joke of himself,
nice.
Which luckily for me was even worse than mine. And so I then tell the kids, I go, all right, fair enough. I says, well, maybe I won't put that one where I put the rest of my dad jokes. In fact, I said, do you know where I keep all of my dad jokes?
Oh, Lord.
And they go, no, what? I said, well, I keep them in a base. And they kind of chuckled, rolled their eyes. They go, okay, that one was a good one.
That one's funny.
So, but again, you're manufacturing a little comedy, a little laughter. For me, I need to be able to laugh at myself.
Yeah.
And the more I can laugh at myself, then maybe the less serious I take myself, and maybe I can, kind of use that as a way to demonstrate to other people.
Right.
That you can be serious, but you don't need to be super serious.
Right.
Laugh and admit, hey, you can be a little silly. You can be a little goofy.
Right.
And if you make a mistake, hey, my bad.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where that trying to pursue perfection comes in. Like, oh, I made this mistake. It's not funny. Where like I've learned that I haven't done a great job about it, but like if I've made a mistake, you
make a mistake.
You make a mistake.
No.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Really?
All the time. But I've learned to like. There's times where I'm gonna laugh about this, and I gain like a different perspective. I'm not like all down in the dumps, and I don't start speaking negative about myself. I laugh at that situation, and then I learn from that situation, and then I continue to move on. But again, a lot of people live in the darkness, and it's hard to get to that place. Like you could go on, like we just kind of came, I would say I've started to come out of a season that was really rough. Mm-hmm. During that season and towards the end, like I started dropping dad jokes on the family and they thought I was an idiot. And there were times where, they would laugh and it's like I would laugh and, Braddox would give me a look and then Suzanne would be like, really? And I'll sit and I'll watch these guys they sit on a dock. I forget their names, but they come up with these hilarious things. And there was one night I was just kind of in the dumps and I swiping and I landed on them. Mm-hmm. About 30 minutes later, I'm like crying because I'm laughing so hard, and I felt so much better when I went to bed. I slept so much better, and just it was funny. We had to laugh recently when we traveled up to Oklahoma, and the last time we went to Oklahoma, I had these really high expectations for our family trip, and boy was I disappointed. I didn't laugh at all that trip. This last trip, we went to Oklahoma. It was just a quick turnaround. We went up there, spent the night, and then came back. But we're like 10 minutes out of town, and Bristol throws up in the back of the car. I'm like, we got to pull over. We're trying to get to a funeral in Oklahoma, and we pull over, and we clean her up. And I'm not mad. I just kind of feel bad. I'm like, because I'm one who likes to get in the car and travel and just go. Mm-hmm. But we clean her up. We get back in the car and we looked at each other and we're like, wow, this is going to be a great trip. And we laughed, and had a good time. It's like no big deal. And the girls, both of them were phenomenal that trip. But, it was different because, there wasn't as much anxiety and there wasn't like, I wasn't mad and I wasn't like in such a hurry to get there. And it was just like, slow down, breathe. And laugh.
I am the same way as far as to me. I like to go places.
Yeah,
but I like to get there. The travel between here and there is not always something that I like.
Right.
The destination is my goal, and I think part of it is maybe the way I observed my dad. Well, we're going. And we ain't stopping. And if you gotta, we ain't stopping every time somebody feels like they need to pee. No, there is a pee stop, and it is at this location about halfway between here and there. We go see my grandparents.
Right.
And one set of grandparents, they were both about 3 hours away. So at about 90 minutes to 2 hours in, there was a rest area. We'd pull in, we'd go there. And that was the bathroom stop.
Yeah.
And that was that. And you held it. And to me, that's kind of what, that's how you do it. That's, right. So I get what you're saying. Sometimes you can create your own stress and anxiety. But there are times when it's kind of like, so what?
Right.
I don't know. I will say though that I like to travel.
Yeah.
And
same here.
It is kind of fun. And in fact, Sherry has commented, she goes, since we've been together, she said, and this is her speaking, she says, I've been more places and gone on more trips than I ever have.
Yeah.
And I go, well, that's a good thing, right? She goes, well, I'm just not that's just not how I grew up.
Right.
Because they would go, when they moved from Buffalo to down here to Dallas, they would go back to Buffalo on occasions.
Yeah.
To go see family and that kind of thing. But that was pretty much it. But I grew up, we always went on family vacations. And I love to go to new places.
Yeah.
And so do you ever find that, what do you take away when you go to places, go on trips, take vacations? Have you ever thought about why?
Like right now or when I was younger?
As an adult.
Oh. Well, I will say that, we had similar upbringing. We traveled back to Illinois, from California to Illinois in our van every summer to see the relatives and the grandparents. When we had to pee, it was no big deal. Get your ass in the back of the van because there's a little porta potty back there.
Oh my God!
And then travel with four boys. There's three brothers who are trying to just mess with you while you're sitting on the little porta potty. But that was a way to eliminate those stops.
Okay.
I guess.
That's funny because we had a van too, but there wasn't no porta potty.
It was this tiny little brown thing, and anyways, a little off track there.
Okay.
But what was your question?
Do you like, as an adult, going on trips, is it simply beyond going to see relatives?
The last trip that I went on was, the last one would have been Baltimore with Braddocks. We went to the Ravens game.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then prior to that, I think it was, our honeymoon. We went to the Dominican Republic.
Okay. Well, the reason why I ask
why you
is that I ran across this article about the impact that vacations can have on our mental health.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, I really do enjoy trips. Mm-hmm. And I love to go places. I love to see things that, you see maybe on TV, go and, things I've read about in books, studied, being a history guy that I am. And so I got thinking about, well, okay, when you go on a trip, why do you go on that trip? And a lot of times, here over the last, 15, 20 years, a lot of my trips have been to go see family, but I've been really lucky enough to go on just fun trips.
Right.
I went to Europe. Well, that was the summer of 2000. So it's been a spell, but it was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'd never been there, so got to travel to France and spent a week down over there and had a fantastic time. Mm-hmm. When I was living up in Pennsylvania, we would go to Washington, D.C., and some of the Civil War battlefields between, there in Pennsylvania and in Virginia. We went up to Vermont and went up for a wedding, but we got to do some other fun stuff. Stayed at a hotel that goes back to the 1750s.
Wow.
We went,
that's cool.
Wine trailing in New York along the Finger Lakes. Went up to Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, went to the Basketball Hall of Fame, Springfield Armory, there in Springfield, Mass, went to the Yankee Candle Factory. That kind of stuff.
You've been the traveler.
Well, a little bit. Went to Alaska, had an amazingly good time.
Yeah.
In fact,
you shared those photos with me.
Yes,
I'm a little jealous.
I did. The guys at school were getting a little pissed too because I'd sent them. There they are in professional development.
Oh yeah,
and they're going, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing?"
Jerk.
Yeah, that was a kind word. But we're planning a trip to go to Hawaii.
Nice.
Here in about a year.
Okay.
But we're trying to take these trips, and because we've discovered that, well, it's kind of like what you and I've talked about before. You can either work to live or you can live to work. Mm-hmm. Well, I used to live to work and I wasn't very happy. But now that I am working to live, well, we're going on these trips and we're having a good time. I mean, we've been on a couple of cruises.
Yeah.
And again, just done, traveled a bunch of different places, and we have a really nice time.
Yeah.
And so Sherry and I are making these efforts.
I am getting irritated with you throwing all your traveling out there. I'm very jealous.
Well, you don't have to be jealous.
I have these things called limitations, 3 of them.
Well, I understand.
A 13-3 and a 19-month-old.
Uh-huh. Well, but think about how much fun. Chicka bow 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 wow. Okay, that went sideways. But anyway, so I saw this article, and it definitely, and it said that there is absolutely a correlation between travel and our mental health. And basically getting out of town, getting out of our normal routine can have a lot of positive benefits. I mean, you don't have to go on these fancy vacations like when you went down to the Dominican Republic.
Right.
All right. It is a weekend getaway.
I was just going to ask for those that can't or do have, I know I make a joke about limitations, but in reality they are limitations. Kids, little ones or whatever, and don't have the funds or the means to take those, extravagant trips like you've been on lately.
Well, I don't have
but
those limitations. You do.
I was thinking that, and you had addressed it, like you could get away, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, a camping trip.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things, a staycation, but doing something to break the normal routine of work, home, work, home, work. I mean, go out, breaking that monotonous day-to-day routine and take the opportunity to enjoy a little life. Because one of the things I say is it can absolutely have a positive impact on reducing your risk of depression.
Wow.
I mean, because you can. I mean, I have found that, if all you do is work, you go from one job to the next job to home to sleep. So to get up and do it all over, it's kind of like that whole Dunkin' Donuts commercial, time to make the donuts. I mean, but if you take an opportunity to take a step back, I mean, working is important.
Yeah.
And providing for the family is important, doing your part to contribute. But at the same time, if you aren't taking a pause, then you may provide some, your financial contribution to the family, but are you missing out on the emotional contribution? And in fact, instead of being a contributor to the emotional well-being of the family, are you being a wet blanket?
Right.
A detriment rather than an asset.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're saying, taking a little vacation is a great opportunity to, again, help reduce some of your depression. See things, do things, like I say, go on a camping trip.
Yeah.
I mean, those can be done kind of on a lower cost than, thousands of dollars to, go on the cruise or stuff like that. But heck, even then, now you can get a cruise next to nothing.
Right.
Because nobody wants to go on a cruise.
That's something that we're going to investigate and see how we could pull that off. I've never been on one. And so here it comes, folks. So, anyways, we're going to attempt to plan that here soon. But I have found, just like our recent trip, bless you, to Oklahoma, it wasn't very expensive. And for me, I personally like getting in the car and driving.
Sure.
And maybe that came from being a child, growing up. Because, like I said earlier, I jumped in the van and then we traveled across the country to go to Illinois. But I love getting in the car and driving, or I get in my truck and sometimes I'll just drive north, backcountry roads, because I have found that will relieve stress, and it forces me hey, I'm just sitting in the truck or in the car. I can't necessarily, I could be on my phone, but that's a little dangerous. I'm not watching a TV. I'm not checking emails. I'm not doing other things around the house that I don't necessarily need to be doing because I'm just like, I have to like feel like I always have to be going. This kind of forces me to sit there and drive. And then I begin to open up my eyes and I look around and I see just the beautiful stuff, the scenery and whatnot. And to me, that's relaxing. That relieves that stress.
Sure.
And then, this last trip we went to Oklahoma, it was fine. I mean, despite Bristol throwing up on the way, we laughed about it. No big deal. The trip prior to that was with her brother's wedding in Oklahoma. I felt like it was a total disaster, and that was on me. I was like the wet blanket.
Okay.
I set way too high expectations.
Yeah.
But, to my point is, we kind of moving into a different season, which is good. And, like you mentioned, going camping or just getting in the car and going somewhere for an overnight that's less expensive than a cruise or a
sure. Well, and that's the kind
Alaskan trip or whatever, right?
Right. I mean, for $100, you can get you a hotel room.
Yeah.
And get you a hotel that has a swim pool. You take the kids, you go, and, let them swim. But you're right. One of the things and this is what the article was bringing up, was that not only with depression, but it was also talking about the stress. And that by seeing new scenery, things that, again, landscape can be very enjoyable to look at, to be a part of, to be immersed into. And so the positive impact it can have on your emotional mood is there, again, helping reduce your risk of depression, but also helping relieve stress, getting away from, those regular day-to-day issues, the worries, the concerns, all of that kind of stuff allows it to just kind of decompress.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it can be kind of nice just sitting around a campfire.
Oh, yeah.
Stoking and playing with the fire, roasting a hot dog or a marshmallow. I don't know, just something about that.
Yeah.
Can be for me anyway, can be relaxing. So again, when I see this kind of stuff, it is kind of enjoyable. And so that's.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, we get so wrapped up in the daily grind and, we get busy, right? And doing a whole bunch of other things that we don't create that, that destination or that vacation. We don't design something to go and do per se. We just keep, on the hamster wheel, if you will. But I think it's important to figure out what you like. If you like getting in the car and driving, or going and seeing a new scenery, like a cruise or the beach or just a hotel or something. What I'm gathering is based on the two things that you just said, relief, depression and
stress.
Figure out what it is and build that in. Maybe it's once a quarter or twice a year. Who knows? I don't know. You have to figure that out for what works for you and your family. If you have a family or your bride or husband or whatever. I just think, like Suzanne's got her kickoff with her company, and I think it's in San Antonio. And I'm like, okay, we're coming.
Sure.
She's like, well, that'd be great, blah, blah. So we're trying to plan this. She's like, are you sure you want to go? I'm like, anything to get out of here and go do something and just to travel, because I know it have the benefits. Now I've lowered my expectations. I realize that we have little kids and it doesn't always go as planned, but you know what? We can make the best of it.
Well, there was one time where Eric's mom had a conference up in Boston, and Eric and I tagged along. He was about 6 months old, and she went and did her crap. I could care less.
Yeah.
I threw him in the stroller, and we walked all over downtown Boston.
Right.
Went to Cheers.
That's awesome.
Norm wasn't there, but we went to Cheers. But we walked all over the park and various parts of downtown Boston, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh
it was
gosh.
different. It was neat. It was outside the norm. So, getting a chance to go to San Antonio, I could see where that would be fun. You throw the girls in a stroller and just start walking. And, you go to the Alamo. Maybe you might find Davy Crockett or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah,
She's like, okay, that I'll be out of pocket. Like the girls' ears, like I can take care of the girls in my sleep. All cocky, I'm going to be balled up in a corner. Help me!
But
no,
it is again. It's that kind of stuff that gets you out of the routine of your normal day-to-day existence. And while there might be a few other different kinds of issues, they are different. And you're seeing something that is not part of what you would normally see.
Right.
And they're saying that can help reduce your stress by putting you into a different environment and a relaxing, potentially relaxing anyway, environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so going on a trip, you get to see something new, something potentially good, beautiful, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But here is a third benefit. And it was, okay, I can see the value of the depression and the stress, kind of helping put a, pin in some of that. But the third benefit that this article said to travel was enhancing your creativity. In fact, I'm going to read a little bit here. It says that by doing so, you're going to gain some novel experiences by being in different places. And you're gonna be kind of immersed in potentially a different culture, different landscapes, and by doing so, that can kind of inspire your creativity. And if you're inspired by a little bit of creativity, what are the positive impacts that can have on you when you come back home? Again,
right,
a little more inspiration, a little more drive, a little more giddy up in your step, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's an old colloquialism we don't talk about anymore. But, I mean, again, if you have a little renewal in how you feel,
right,
then that can change just maybe enough of that outlook on your day-to-day life that you aren't so negative. You aren't feeling so horrible about where you are.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like in a way, maybe like a reset.
Sure.
You get to go out and you enjoy, what you said, a new environment, which gives you a new perspective, and I could see that increasing your creativity. But then it kind of for me, it allows me to get back into a different groove, if you will, because I look around so much and I gain a lot of insight from what I see and or whatever, and I start developing new things in my mind. But it helps me get back here and like get to a reset because I'm fresh. I'm fresh. I have less stress. My depression is greatly decreased. My stress is decreased. I have a fresh new vision, if you will. And man, it was an overnight.
There you go. It was
an overnight.
Yeah. I mean, again, and that's where it goes back to, instead of living to work, working to live.
No. Good deal.
Let's go on vacation.
Where do you want to go?
At this point, I don't care. So, all right. Well, then let's go plan our vacations.
Let's do it. We actually should.
I'm all in.
That way you guys can babysit the kids while Suzanne and I go do something fun.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll give you 15, 20 minutes.
I don't need that long.
Okay,
all righty then.
We'll end on that note. So,
go travel, explore, reset, decrease your anxiety and your stress and your depression, and go live.
Absolutely.
All right, brother.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Rod.
I am Bryce because I know who I am.
About time.
All righty then.
All right. Peace. Bye.